Here's a brief overview of the history of the atom. Our first stop is ancient Greece. Democritus, who was a philosopher, he suggested that if you kept cutting matter into smaller and smaller pieces, eventually you'd reach something indivisible, which he called atomos, meaning uncuttable. He came up with his model by just thinking, no experiments. Jump forward over 2,000 years later, and John Dalton, using experiments with gases, came up with the first scientific idea of what an atom really was. That all matter is made of tiny solid spheres, atoms, which can't be created, destroyed, or split in half. Atoms of the same element would be the same size and could be combined to form compounds. Next came Thomson. By experimenting with cathode ray tubes, he discovered the electron, a particle smaller than the atom itself. This meant that Dalton was wrong. Atoms were divisible. They could be broken down. Thomson pictured atoms like plum puddings, a ball of positive charge with negative electrons sprinkled inside, meaning the total atom would be neutrally charged. Then came Rutherford. He wanted to test Thomson's idea, and he fired massive positive particles called alpha particles at a thin bit of gold foil. He expected all of them to pass straight through, which most of them did, but some got deflected, and even more bizarrely, some bounced back. This meant that atoms have a tiny, dense, positively charged nucleus at the centre, with electrons orbiting around it like planets orbiting around the sun. He also came to the conclusion that atoms were 99.99% empty space. Pretty clever. But there was a problem. If the electrons were negative and the nucleus was positive, why don't the electrons go straight into the nucleus? Niels Bohr solved this using maths, and he came up with the idea that electrons can only orbit in fixed energy levels or shells. This is called the Bohr model, and it matched experimental evidence perfectly. Then came James Chadwick, who discovered the neutron, another particle in the nucleus. This explained why atoms of the same element could have different masses, called isotopes. Niels Bohr and Schrödinger continued to work on their idea of the atom. They came up with the idea that electrons are so tiny that you can't know their position and their speed. And they came up with the idea of not shells, but orbitals. These are clouds of probability where you can kind of guess where the electron lies, but can't guarantee it. And that in a nutshell is the history of the atom and how the idea of the atom has changed over the course of human history and the science behind it. If you've watched to this point, consider liking, subscribing, and giving us a comment. Thanks for watching.